You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button.
July 8th, but I think he's really been slept on as West Weeks. I think he had an outstanding spring. But when you talk about those four guys, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think all four of them have different skill sets. All four of them are really, really good college football players. So that's one of the challenges for me, honestly, going into, fall camp is you want to get guys really good at a position. And then once they do that, now it's okay, how can we move these pieces of the puzzle around? How can we get them on the field more often together? And that's something that we're definitely toying with throughout the month of July and going into fall camp, because I think those are four of our best players on defense.
That was Blake Baker on Off the Bench a little more than a month ago before LSU was starting fall camp, where he talked about his four linebackers feeling like he had four starters. And lo and behold, we've seen a lot of interchange among those four in a lot of different roles. A guy who knows a ton about playing linebacker at LSU is former All-SEC linebacker, 2008 Butkus Award finalist, Darry Beckwith, good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Beast, good to talk to you, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, Matt. By the way, She Thinks My Tractor Sexy is probably my favorite song right now. I was hoping when I came on that you guys be playing that song. And that song, I cannot get it out of my head. She thinks my tractor sexy.
Well, if you listened to this show, which I hope you do regularly.
I do.
Of course, our Tuesday sponsor is Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. So the only way I know how to just absolutely ingrain marketing and branding into people's brain is just to do something on repeat like that. So we play it the entire show Tuesday. So if you keep listening, Darry, you'll hear it when we come out of every single break all Tuesday long. So just make a note. Tuesdays, you'll hear it every single break right here on AFR. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey, you hear Blake Baker talk about his four linebackers. When you listen to him talk about those four guys and feeling like he has four starters, like, what's your reaction to that?
I think it's something that he can actually manage. I do believe Blake Baker will find opportunities and schemes to get all four linebackers on the field. You have Greg Penn, you have Harold Perkins, and you have both the Weeks brothers. I think he's going to do an outstanding job in making sure that he fits those guys' skill sets. He took a defense in Missouri that was at the bottom half of college football and turned them, quite frankly, into a top 25, top 30 defense. So I think he's going to do a good job of getting them on the field, keeping them happy and keeping them satisfied. And I think the main thing is that making sure that they play with excitement. They play with enthusiasm. And I think that's something that they're doing this camp. Looking at all the videos from LSU social media, you see these guys having fun. You see that they're bought into what Blake Baker is saying. I heard an interview from Whit Weeks the other day, and he's talking about the excitement that they're playing with right now. And look, last year at this time, Matt, we didn't hear anything about the defense creating turnovers. Now all of a sudden they're creating turnovers. They're playing well. They're playing together as a unit. So I think he'll do a great job of getting all four guys on the field, and hopefully they'll be able to make some plays this year.
How easy or difficult is it to play four linebackers when you're not in a traditional 4-3, right? Like, they got that star position that's Major Burns. So really it's Harold Perkins in some spot and then another linebacker. So how easy or difficult, Darry, is it to play four?
Well, it's based off what the offense is giving you. So what you're going to see sometimes on third and long, he may have Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins in at the same time on certain packages. Depending on what the offense dictates, he can have Greg Penn and also West Weeks on the field as well. So I think he's going to do a good job of making sure that whatever the offense is scheming, he's going to have the right personnel on the field. And look, I think sometimes we overthink things. These coordinators are getting paid a lot of money. So I do have my full faith in Blake Baker that he'll be able to make the proper adjustments. And I know people are having kind of skepticism about Harold Perkins playing the off-ball linebacker position, but the easiest way to make sure that he's acclimated, the easiest way to make sure that Harold Perkins does well at the off-ball linebacker position is to move him around and blitz him. Because when you blitz somebody like Harold Perkins, you create chaos, and you do not keep him stationary. Because sometimes if you keep him stationary, especially a player like Harold, linemen that's a lot much bigger and a lot much stronger. Once they get on the second level and they get their hands on him, he won't be able to move. But if you blitz Harold Perkins and move him around, he's going to cause a lot of havoc. I saw something today where I believe it was, I forgot the safety that used to play for the Saints, that played for Alabama for a long time.
Roman Harper. Harper.
Yeah, he kind of ticked me off this morning. He said that he didn't believe Harold Perkins should be on the preseason AP All-American team. But what people have to realize, last year, what did we say? Harold Perkins was out of position last year. That's what everybody was saying, that Matt House had him out of position. How can a person that was out of position, which I totally agree with, but he equaled the same amount of sacks he did his freshman year, and he darn near equaled the same tackles of loss that he did his freshman year, a freshman year where he exploded onto the scene. So a guy that was out of position basically matched his freshman stats. So for me, coming to this year to see a guy like Blake Baker, what he did for Damone Clark, what he did for the Missouri defense, I'm looking forward. I'm so excited to seeing Harold Perkins and that whole linebacking core wreak havoc this year.
Yeah, both Will Campbell and Harold Perkins were named AP preseason All-American, first team AP preseason All-Americans today on Tuesday. So great honor for those guys. Of course, you'd rather be an AP All-American at the end of the season. We'll see if they can play the way that we think they can. I want to dig in a little deeper there on Perk though, Darry, because look, it's very clear, and we've gotten to see a lot of practice. Brian Kelly has given us a lot of access. Harold Perkins ain't just like parked in the middle of the defense. Seldom do you see him lined up in the same spot twice. Sometimes he's off ball. Sometimes he's lined up on the edge. We've seen him drop in coverage. I mean, he's done a ton. So is that more difficult? Like you and I talked about Harold moving inside, and you said you could do it, and it's just a matter of reps. Well, it's pretty clear that it's not just what they're doing. So what are they doing when you see him moved around that much?
They want to make sure they put him in situations where he can win. You have to, when you get to this level, you have to make sure that you match the guy's skill set. Harold Perkins is probably one of the best inside linebackers as far as when it comes to blitz. If you're able to blitz him, if you're able to get him on matchups that's favorable towards him, you're going to do that. So by moving him around, what you're doing, you're allowing the offense to make adjustments as well. So let's say you have Harold Perkins lined up in the A-gap pre-snap. Before the ball is snapped, he may move him outside. And what that does, that allows the offense to make audibles, and then you get a matchup with Harold Perkins one-on-one with the running back. So who are you going to take on a one-on-one matchup, Harold Perkins or the running back? I think I'm going to take Harold Perkins.
Yeah.
So when you do that, when you move him around, you make the offense make adjustments, and you also make the offense maybe do pass protection with something that they probably shouldn't have done. And then you free someone else up because the offense may think Harold Perkins is blitzing. He may be dropping in coverage, and then you can send someone else. So it's all about manipulation. It's all about having your poker face on defense. Defense is not complicated at all. If you can get 11 guys playing on one string, 11 guys playing on one accord, and manipulate the offense and have your poker face on offense and not show your hand, then I think you can be successful. I do believe Blake Baker would be able to do that.
Got a couple more minutes here with Darry Beckwith, former All-SEC linebacker, was a Butkus finalist in 2008. I want to talk about the Weeks brothers as well and Greg Penn. So much of the focus is on Harold Perkins with good reason, but I want to start with West Weeks because Blake Baker, you heard him there say like he feels like he's got 4 starters, and Darry, like we've been out there watching 11-on-11 team periods when they go goal line, like the offense is set up at the 4-yard line, on first and goal. And it's West Weeks out there with Harold Perkins. So how is it that a guy who could be so seldom used through 3 years and now all of a sudden, boom, they maybe have the magic unlock?
You got a whole new coaching staff with different eyes. You have a coaching staff who's not set in their ways. You have a coaching staff that realize, look, guys, we can go deep down this roster and play a lot of guys who have talent. I remember I went to a practice with Brian Kelly's first year, and I was over by the linebackers. And this is when West Weeks transferred from Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I watched him move, Matt. I was like, this guy is 6'3", 230, and he moves like a safety. Look, when I played from 05 to 08, I hope I'm not, making anyone feel any kind of way, but the linebackers I played with, we didn't move like that at 6'3", 230. We didn't. And this guy was moving fluid. He moved like a safety. So when I see things like that, and especially today's games with the RPO offense, you have to have linebackers that can run and play in space, and this guy can do that. So for my eye test, I know what Blake Baker is saying. When he sees this guys go through drills, he sees this guy blitz, and the way he moves, I have to get him on the field. And you cannot say that you can't get these guys on the field because you can absolutely do it. Even when I was playing, they had a linebacker at Georgia by the name of Ronnie Curran, who's an All-American. Ronnie Curran actually was a substitute going into his senior year. So you can get guys on the field. Kendall Beck was my cousin at one point. He was subbing out the game. Because you can get guys on the field if you're willing to do that and if you're willing not to be stuck in your own ways and prideful. And I think what you're seeing from this defense, they're gonna come at you multiple different ways with multiple different packages, and I believe they're going to get out the quarterback. That's the one thing that you can do if you're not as talented. I'm not saying these guys are not talented, but if you're trying to get back to a great defense, then you got to bring pressure. I think last year in Missouri, he had 19 different people who had sacks. That's a lot of people. Yeah. If you have 19 people on defense who had a sack, and that's why Missouri was successful last year on defense, I think you're going to see that same attack this year with LSU.
Man's creative ways he finds pressure. Darry, we were watching him scrimmage on Saturday, and offense was moving the ball. Boom, safety blitz. Kylan Jackson pressures Nuss, tries to throw it away, gets picked. I mean, it's been interesting to watch. It's definitely going to be a different look defensively. We'll see how much better they can be. What you think about the game, man? A week from Sunday, you got a thought?
I believe it's going to be a close game. I do think it's going to come down to whoever makes the least amount of mistakes. I think that's a cliche statement, but it's true. This is going to Brian Kelly's third year. What I would say, I believe this is a must-win for Brian Kelly. I do believe that because for the first 2 years, his first games, his teams didn't play as well. First year against Florida State, special teams blew it. Second year, played Florida State, defense didn't show up. So you don't want to get that stigma that your team is not prepared for the first game because it almost seems like, what were you doing all the training camp? So I do believe this is a must-win for Brian Kelly because if you beat USC, now people will kind of begin to say, okay, LSU is kind of riding momentum. I think they play Nicholls State the second game. You should win that game. I'm not sure who they play your third game, but I think it's winnable. And now you're sitting 3-0. So you get that momentum going because let me tell you something. If he loses this game against USC, Matt, next time I come on this show, he's going to have for sale signs in his front yard. What's the guy that you use all the time?
Darren James. Let's go.
Darren James going to be selling his house. So I do believe this. Look, I do believe this is a must-win. This guy has an incredible offensive lineman. I was listening to you earlier. Listened to someone earlier. He has 2 O-linemen that's going to be first-round draft picks. You know, so he can have a balanced attack on offense, get pressure on defense, have solid special teams, and I think they should be fine.
Hey, Beast. If they fire him, they owe him $68 million. He could lose this game 100-0. He ain't going nowhere, dog.
Not a bad fine.
He ain't going, bro. He ain't going nowhere, bro. I mean, for better or worse, financially bound for a decade. That is happening, bro.
What am I doing in my life? Jesus Christ.
What are you doing with your life?
Well, so we still got the foundation going, so that's rocking and rolling. Don't know if you know this as well. I have a son that's due at any moment.
That's that's awesome, so man. I did not know that.
I know. So I have a son that's due at any moment. So we're anticipating that and getting ready for that. So that's kind of how my life is being consumed right now. Waiting on our baby boy to come. Man. So we're really excited.
You're going to be a great dad, man. Congrats on that. Best to mom and baby, and hope everybody's safe and healthy, and that's what matters most, man. We'll look forward to seeing Daddy Darry here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Man. How about that? All right, man. Thanks for the time as always. Be well, okay?
All right, you too, man. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.